Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers.
I can't tell you how excited I am to be on right now. It's been a couple of weeks of excitement getting prepared, and I've done a lot of things in my life, but this has got to be close to the top.
Thank you, Reader's Magnet, and thank you, John, for putting this forth and taking the chance on our authors in presenting this out to the world.
I've enjoyed this immensely, Joanne.
Ellie, so have I. Thank you for who you are, and thank you, Reader's Magnet. You all are beautiful, and you've worked so very hard, and we are blessed.
We are.
I thank everybody that's involved with this process, because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers. We thank Reader's Magnet and everybody that's involved. I love Reader's Magnet. They say, we share your stories with the world.
Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Charles Gates Jr., author of From Darkness to Light and Darkness Before the Dawn. So, my novel, From Darkness to Light, a Sinner's Memoir, is a testimonial novel about how the Lord broke into my darkness and stole me from Satan's grip. It's about it takes you on five or 6 year journey, closer to 6, about a 6-year journey through the occult, the darkest years of my life, and with transparency discloses the way that the enemy, Satan, used to keep me captive to my own mind and heart. And it's pretty intense. So the novel itself starts on a day that changed my life forever. The chapter 1 is called the day that I died. And although obviously I'm not dead, I all but died that day. And the entire chapter, the first chapter, is one day. Happened in like half a day, actually. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and read you the first page. See if I should read the second one if it's relevant. Actually, I think I might read a couple pages. Don't know if I have time for that much. Yeah. Chapter 1, the day that I died. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and nothing nothing was made that was made. In him was life. The life was the light of men, and the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it. John chapter 1, verses 1 through 5. On a cold autumn day, the clatter and cheer of my friends seemed distant as I stared at the empty house on top of the hill. There was a sense of tingling in the air as my stomach curled into knots. I was eager to get back to my bicycle and pedal my way from the creepy house. As I reached the bottom of the driveway, I whipped my bike around in a U-turn and faced the opposite direction from where I came. After nearly hitting the guardrail on the opposite side of the road, I heard a voice call my name. I jerked my head around to face the danger. I saw a great light and stared into its beam. I awoke from the premonition, screaming, "Today is the day that I die." Jordan, my cousin, whom shared the same room, asked, "Another bad dream, CJ?" "Yeah, something like that," I snickered. I slid on my shoes, threw on a shirt, and headed downstairs to the kitchen. When I saw Aunt Chris at the stove cooking breakfast, I joked, "Is that for me?" "For you and the rest of the army," she grumbled. I pulled out a chair from the table and flopped down in front of the many plates that were lined up, getting ready to be served. Aunt Chris slid a plate of overstacked pancakes across the table. I snatched 3 of them and plopped them onto my plate, adding peanut butter and loads of syrup, as was the family tradition. "Such a beautiful day it is to stuff my face with pancakes," I commented, glancing toward the kitchen window. After eating breakfast, I stepped onto the back porch, breathed in the fresh mountain air, and admired the beautiful landscape. We moved to Likens Valley only a month prior. Mom and her boyfriend Matthew moved into a small 1-bedroom apartment at the end of town, but for the sake of convenience, my little sister Jessica and I moved in with Aunt Chris and Uncle Jim, while Mom looked for a house suitable for us to live. I had no argument against the arrangement because I desired earnestly to attend the same school as Jordan. I grabbed a toolbox from the back porch, placed it beside my green bicycle, flung it open, and dug around for 2 pairs of pliers and my box of inner tubes. I took off the back tire and began loosening the tread with my fingers. "Here, let me show you an easier way to do that," Matthew's voice echoed from behind me. He reached his hand into the toolbox and pulled out a flathead screwdriver. Taking the flathead, he placed it between the metal rim and the tread, working it out in seconds. "Oh, bonding time," Mom commented, holding up her cell phone to capture the moment in a photograph. I looked at the camera phone and asked, and smiled, half embarrassed. "What are your plans for today?" Matthew asked. The boys then told me about a soccer game they wanted to attend in the next town. I was going to tag along. I thought it might be a good time to check out the area, I said. "Be careful," Matthew replied with a concerned look on his face. "I will," I assured him. "Don't worry about me." After the bike was fixed, I gathered the boys, Sean, Steven, and Jordan, and we headed to the game. We raced one another until we reached Williamstown. Although I had to hold back because I didn't not yet know my way around. To get the most out of the ride home, we decided to take the main road. My friends warned me that if we were caught riding on Route 209, we would be fined because it was illegal in that town for minors to walk on it. After a couple of minutes on the road, I took the lead since it was a straight stretch to the main road of Likens. I knew the way because it was the route our school bus would take after picking us up. Several minutes after I took the lead, I heard Sean warn us, "Hey, I see a cop heading this way." The crew came to a stop, and I did as well in order to improvise with them. "What can we do?" Stephen asked with a worried expression on his face. I thought for a moment. "Follow me," I motioned. We raced a quarter-mile down the road until we reached one of the steep driveways, sloping upward into the hillside. I was the first to reach its peak. When I turned back to track my friends, I realized I was the only one who made it to the top. The rest of the boys stayed toward the bottom. I turned back to face the property where I was trespassing. A cool, gentle breeze whistled through the autumn-colored trees as a chill crawled down my spine. With my handlebars gripped in my hands, my eyes locked into the vacant house. The trees overshadowed the house with a thick darkness that charmed me with fear. Even though nobody appeared to be home, I could feel eyes glaring at what felt like my soul, as if I were naked and exposed. "Walk your bike down," Jordan hollered from the bottom of the hill. I began walking, holding my bike by the handlebars until I was consumed with fear. I hopped onto the bike and rode my way to safety, as if something were chasing me. When I reached the bottom, I whipped my bike around the curve to face the opposing direction the exit brought me. I hadn't realized I crossed the road until I nearly crashed into the guardrail. When I navigated myself away from it, Jordan's voice echoed from behind me, "CJ!" As I whipped my head around, my bike leaned toward the same direction I faced, leading me further into the other lane. When I came to a 90-degree turn, I saw headlights racing toward me quicker than my instincts could kick in. The car tried to go around me, but swerved the same way as I had. Only a few feet from me, I couldn't escape the impending doom. The 1970 Pontiac Lamaze, a car manufactured with complete steel, slammed into the left side of my body, hard enough for my seat to break from its post, fly over the guardrail, and down a small hillside to never be found again. My body was propelled over the roof of the car, twisting and turning 7.5 times until hitting the pavement head first, skidding 22 feet alongside the road from whence I came. The piles of blood which poured from my wounds left puddles, causing any witness of the accident to believe I died on impact. When the car came to a complete stop, a young adult jumped out of the driver's seat. He stumbled backward when he saw my mangled body and hollered, "Oh my God, I killed him!" I saw only darkness behind my closed eyelids as I slipped into a state of unconsciousness. As I was dying, I subconsciously cried out loud, "God, don't do this to me. My mother lost a lot this year, and she can't lose me too. Don't let me die. I will do anything you tell me to. Go anywhere you tell me to go. Don't let me die." I cried. "Just please, don't let me die. I'm not ready to die." When I opened my eyes, my vision was impaired, but I could vaguely see a blonde woman leaning over top of me. My left eye was swollen, preventing me from opening it except a quarter of the way. When she saw my eye flutter, she asked, "Charles, do you know who I am?" I thought for a moment. "No." "I'm your school bus driver. Do you remember when your birthday is?" After a moment of hesitation, I replied, "October 20th, 1990. Where am I?" "Do you remember what happened to you?" she asked. There was a light," I quivered, followed by darkness. "Yes, you were hit by a car. I was in the vehicle behind the one that hit you." I tried to sit up, but a paramedic grabbed my shoulder and urged me to stay still. "Don't move," he warned. "You're hooked up to IVs. You have a lot of injuries. Until we observe them, we don't want to risk anymore." "What kind of injury?" My words trailed off when I glanced toward the paramedic, and my view was blocked by my foot. It was still attached, but the leg was tangled, and my left foot rested on the right side of my face. "Ah!" I screamed. Chills crawled down my spine. Is it broken?" I asked in disbelief. "I'm afraid so," he replied. Paramedics straightened my leg. To my regret, I observed them. The IVs prevented me from feeling sharp pain for a time, but I felt a high level of discomfort. Once my body was aligned for transport, they transported me to a stretcher, slid me into an ambulance, and closed the doors. The last thing that I remembered seeing before the doors closed was a crowd of witnesses. My friend stared at the ambulance with unbelief. Jordan held his phone to his ear, sobbing and running a hand through his long, silky brown hair. The young man who hit me was being comforted by someone who was in the car with him. "I didn't even see him. He came out of nowhere," he sobbed. Emergency personnel cut and tore my clothes from my body until I was exposed for medical examination. I cried, sobbed, and wailed like a child. I repeated, "I don't want to die," until I felt unconscious again. I'll have a comment real quick. No, I'm not sure if you mean that from a writing standpoint, because there is in screenwriting, there is a scene called the turning point. So if you can distinguish between the two, you can re-comment. But this was technically it wouldn't be a catalyst because you don't start with a catalyst in a story, but this is like a pre-catalyst where it's a launching point of my story. I recently learned screenwriting under a Hollywood screenwriter, Michael Salter, and so I'm pretty knowledgeable when it comes to scenes and stuff. Now, I wrote this book before all that, but a catalyst basically is the point in the story where the hero, the protagonist, the hero in the story has to make a decision because of something that happens, like something happens that will force the hero to make the decision to continue the story or not. Basically, when Luke Skywalker received that message from his sister, he didn't know it was his sister. On that robot, I forget his name, R2-D2, I think. But and he saw the cosmos and stuff, and he wanted to before that go like adventuring and stuff like that. But so it's well. So they elaborated. The person who asked me that. The other question that said, I meant, was this the point when you decided to change and go back to God? No, actually, that was the first time I ever, to my knowledge, cried out or prayed to God. I was in and out of church as a kid, but I wasn't a Christian. I thought I was, but I wasn't. I did not have a relationship with Jesus. But at that moment, when I was dying, he was the one I cried out to, because honestly, it was my soul crying out. I was unconscious, which, by the way, everybody around me heard that. Like, somebody else reminded me of that, and then I remembered it. So I was unconscious, but I was verbal in my unconsciousness. So there are multitude of witnesses to that one. But no, right from the start, right after that accident, when I'm lifelined to the emergency room. And ironically, you're about to see, like, you would see, if I was continuing reading, you would see immediately I would be the helicopter that took me to that lifelined me to the hospital, landed literally right beside the house where I lived, which is crazy to me. They didn't know it was me until they got a phone call from my sister, Jamie, who my cousin called while I was being transported onto the ambulance. He called my sister. He called my mom, who got the phone call as the helicopter was lifting off the ground. And my uncle at that time, like, he's trying to stop the helicopter and stuff, like running to the helicopter to see me. And he almost got in a fight with a paramedic because they wouldn't let him through. So crazy. But in that helicopter, I saw an angel. I saw somebody in the corner kneeling over me, like, that was not doing anything medical to me. And nobody is in the helicopter, is in an emergency personnel helicopter that does not need to be there, because the space is very limited. The doors are open, so one wrong turn, you're gonna fall out. So very crowded. There was like 7 people in there, and I turned my head backward and I saw this man just kneeling over me, crouching, And I asked him, "Am I going to die?" He wouldn't answer me, but those around me were answering me. They were like, "I don't know. We don't know. They wouldn't lie to me. They didn't know. They were losing me. They almost lost me in a helicopter. But the only one who was not trying to attend or answer me was an angel. I know it's an angel because before we landed at the helicopter, on the helicopter pad at the hospital, I turned behind me again, and that man was gone. We did not yet touch the ground. Honestly, it looked like a regular person. It looked like somebody wearing jeans and blue jeans and a t-shirt. But he had a glow around him. Around the body had like a glow, a light. Now, that's not the only angel I've ever seen. I've seen them. The one thing that's pretty interesting about my book, my novel, is that I have the ability to see past the veil. I see like angels, I see demons, I have that supernatural like sixth sense, if you will. That's the easiest way to correlate it so you understand it. Which I didn't know that has to do with what God, the destiny that God has for my life, which is has to do with prophecy and stuff like that. So yeah. And I was visited by another angel in the hospital room a couple days later because I had a whole bunch of broken bones. I had a fractured skull, and blood was leaking through my right there. That's the place where I landed right there. I could feel the dent, fractured skull right there. It's still there. It's not as wide as it was, but because I was 16 when it happened, so my body kind of mended a little bit, but that'll always be there. But how it is now will always be there. It's still like 1/8 of an inch. And blood was leaking through that crack, and it was landing on my brain. And like 2/3 of my brain was like covered in blood at one point. But it was bad. And no, that's right. I got that information wrong. Yeah, it was forming a blood clot. They were concerned it was going to form a blood clot and give me brain damage. That's what it was. And there's where the 2/3 come in. So a couple days later, right before my another CAT scan, where they're going to reevaluate my brain and make sure the blood, how the blood was and all that. Now they did nothing for me. They couldn't really do anything for me for that. But an hour before they took me for a CAT scan, I saw somebody walk into my room. It was like somebody. It was like somebody that I've never seen. It was. I could almost see through their body. They were very transparent. Like their body, they're very almost pale, but not pale in a way that we understand it. They had like a light glowing from them, but it was like you or me, but without a solid body. It was very weird. Weird to call back on it. I didn't have that much experience with the stuff back then. But they touched their finger to the fractured skull area, and they disappeared, which is in my novel. They took me to a CAT scan an hour later, and the blood on my brain was 2/3 of the way gone. So God healed me. He heard my prayer. Even though I didn't know him, he had mercy on me, and he spared my life. And now it's been 14 years since that day. And he did collect on me my vow to go anywhere he tells me to go, to do anything he tells me to do. But it's not about me, it's about his son Jesus. I didn't know what I was saying back then. I was prophesying, really. That's probably more accurate. I was prophesying, reminding God of his destiny for my life, of the purpose he created me. But yeah, so that's the day that my novel began. That's the point in the story that really began my dabble into the supernatural, because shortly after my surgery, to put the titanium rods in my leg to enable me to walk again, because I shattered that leg. I shattered the bottom part of the leg. I broke the femur bone, the thigh bone, strongest bone in the one of the strongest bones in the human body. Broke that completely in half, clean cut. They put titanium rods in my leg to enable me to have a chance of walking again. Even with that, only giving a 50% chance of walking again, and they said I would walk forever with a limp for the rest of my life. I walked with a limp for about 2, maybe 3 years, and then it went away, because I was determined to really rehabilitate it so that to make it stronger and stuff. But again, God had mercy on me. So yeah. Shortly after that time, only a couple months later, I was drafted into a secret society who fed on my insecurities of my lack of identity, that fed on my need to be important. Because I was so outcasted by society. Even before that, I felt like I was an outcast. Always have, but it got worse over the years. So the rest of the story goes into detail about 5 years post accident, where I was in the occult being trained by a shaman and a sorceress about how to do magic, do witchcraft, speak to the dead, quote unquote. They are actually demons. And you are able to see the world through my eyes. All throughout the story, you see angels and demons making appearances. And a lot of them, those demons, came disguised as angels. Although there were actual angels, like of God, in my story as well. Especially around the time of my conversion. My favorite is Michael. He came to me in a dream first, then in person, to fight with me against the enemy. Hallelujah. Okay, so we're about to wrap it up now. Now that took longer than I thought it would. Oh man, that was good though. Okay, so if you want to purchase my novel, From Darkness to Light, a Sinner's Memoir. The quote is on the front cover. It says, "Though your sins are like scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they are red as crimson, they shall be like wool." This is from Isaiah 118. But if you want to purchase this novel, you can do so at Amazon.com. Or you can click on my author booth link. There's also one to my website. Or you can just go to charlesgatesjr.com/books. And I have both my links in there to make it more convenient for you, the consumer and reader and friend, to purchase my either book. You can purchase my novel or my testimony or my book of poetry. All right. Until next time, God bless you, be blessed, and stay blessed in Jesus' name. Have a good night.